Welcome to this tutorial video about Microsoft PowerPoint's slide content animation. In our previous tutorial, we learned how to control the transition movement between slides. That's one kind of animation that PowerPoint makes available to you. But we can also animate the content on the slides, the images and the text that we see on the slides. So in this video, I'll first explain to you that there are three different kinds of animation for slide content. We have what's called entrance animation, how something arrives onto the slide; emphasis, whether or not something might move around the slide while it's being shown; and then also an exit effect. We can have exit animation for anything really on the slide. I'll show you how to animate an object like a picture. And then I'll also show you how to animate text, like this is being animated right here. This bulleted list is being animated for you. And I'll also talk to you about the timing of things and how to control when all this happens and how it all happens. So let's take a look at our zoo PowerPoint presentation that we've used in previous tutorials. Just a reminder that this is a little presentation for new employees, all the do's and don'ts of being an employee at the zoo. And if we look around our slide, we can see that slide number 2 is probably a good slide for us to work with. It's got text, but it also has a good object for us to work with. It's got this image. So we can learn both techniques with this one slide. Now, I'll remind you that the ribbon has a lot of different tabs, and we've worked a lot with the Home tab and the Transitions tab, and today we're going to look at this Animations tab. And we can tell right off the bat, with this object selected, that there are no animations currently applied to this object. But we'll go ahead and do that now. Now, the first temptation is to use this palette right here. If I click this button for seeing more of them, you can see that there are a lot of entrance, emphasis, and exit options. One thing to be aware of, though, if you pick an animation from this palette, then you can't pick another one from this palette. This palette only allows you to pick one emphasis or one animation per object. And if you think that you would like to do more than one thing with an object, then you need to do it a different way. And I would like to do one of each type so you can see them. So instead, I will use this Add Animation button. And you could start over here and then work your way over here, but my personal style is I just work with this button. That's what I do. And when I click that button, you'll see I still have the entrance options, the emphasis animations, and the exit animations. And I could click on an animation to see what it does. There's a wheel. I could click on split to see what that does. So there are a lot of different styles and techniques. I think that for this one, I'm going to work with the bounce animation for the entrance of the fox. So the fox will bounce onto the slide. Oh, look at this. So because I tried 3 different animations, they've all been assigned to this object. So this poor little fox is going to get pretty dizzy. I'll control that by coming over here to the animation pane. And here I have 3 different animations that have already been assigned to this object. This first one is the one that, I think it was the wheel. So I'll go ahead and I will delete that. And then the second one is another entrance, which I will delete. And now this one should be the bounce. Let's preview it. Yeah, there's the bounce. This animation pane is a really critical tool. It's a really important tool for you to get familiar with. This area over here is really where you can get under the hood and control everything. So it's a great place to learn how to work. Okay, so now we have one animation to this object. And let's do another animation for emphasis. And I'm not going to click on a lot of different ones because I don't want to have to keep deleting things. But just be aware that you can do that and you can check them all out that way. But also be aware that you may need to delete things later on if you do that. So let's make it spin. We'll do a spin animation. So that will be our emphasis while we're talking, while the slide is being discussed. And then we'll also do an exit effect for our little fox. So I'll come back here to add animation and we'll make him fly out. So there's the fly out. Okay. And notice that we have effect options. Like right now, I'm dealing with the fly out. If I point at this, do you see the flyover help says fly out? So I know that that's the one I'm dealing with. I could say effect options. And maybe I would like him not to fly down. Maybe I'd like him to go the top right of the slide. So he'll zoom out that way. I like that a little better. All right, so let's see what this slide looks like now with all this going on. I will go into slideshow view. Now here's my text. I haven't done anything animated the text at all. So it's just part of the slide at the moment and it appears when the slide appears. Now if I click my mouse, here's the entrance. Then I'll be talking to my employees. Then I might click my mouse again and say, oh, look at that fun fox. Then I might talk some more. And then when I'm done with this slide, I might say, bye-bye, fox. And there he goes. So I now have those 3 animations applied to this object on this slide. Let's see what it's like now to include animation to text. I'll come over here and I'll click on this placeholder that contains all these lines, bulleted lines, and I'll add an animation to that. And let's make this an entrance animation. So I'll have this a fly in. There we go. Those are our fly-ins. Now notice a lot of interesting things here. Every animation gets numbered because it tells us when it's going to happen. And we can see that the entrance, emphasis, and exit of the fox will all happen before my text appears, because my text happens 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And that's not necessarily what I want. I don't necessarily want to have the right side of the slide empty while I'm talking about my bulleted items. And I also want to show you how we can control the numbering of this. Maybe I would like the fox to appear and bounce in. I like the effect, but maybe I don't want to have to click for it. Maybe I would like the fox to bounce in when the slide appears. So I'll come over here into my animation pane and notice that I have a number of ways I can control this. At the moment, it's waiting, it will wait for a mouse click, but I could say with or after previous. Previous being the previous animation. And in this case, the previous animation is the arrival of the slide on the screen. So if I say with previous, that fox will bounce in as the slide appears on the screen. I like that. I'm happy with that. Now what's interesting here, notice that the bounce in turned to 0. It's no longer something that requires a mouse click. It's going to be automatic. And so I don't need to worry about clicking my mouse to make it happen. But I still have the emphasis and the exit happening before my bulleted lines appear. I want you to notice that number 3, which is the first bulleted line animation, doesn't have a number following it, but there's a little arrow set here. If I click on that, suddenly I see 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Now I see all my animations. So I think first I have to make the fox exit last. I want that to be the last thing that happens. So again, I can use reorder animation here, but instead of using this tool over here, I'll say move this later, 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 later. So now this content placement, the fly out for my fox, will be the last thing that happens. And maybe I would like this, the spin, maybe I would like that to sort of happen in the middle of my bullet talk. So I'll select that animation, and I'll say make it later, later, later. So that spin will happen after the use care and caution when handling an animal. And I will say start after previous. Let's see what that looks like. So what will happen here, notice that that's not numbered anymore, just the way the 0 got applied up here. This one is no longer numbered because it actually is part of the number 3 animation, but there will be a slight hesitation between that third bulleted line appearing and then the fox spinning. And look how there's a 3 over here in the bulleted area, and there's also a 3 here for the fox's animation. It's a lot of careful planning, but if you pay attention, you can really make it work. So let's actually go to slide number 1. We'll go into slideshow view. So welcome everybody. I'm so glad that you've gotten your new jobs at the zoo, blah, blah, blah. I hope you learn a lot from this slideshow. We'll go to slide number 2, and I only clicked to get to slide number 2. And we also saw the transition that we applied in the previous tutorial. But now that I clicked to get this slide, I did not click to have the fox bounce in. Now I'd like to start talking to my new employees. I'll click my mouse one time. I'll say you have to be on time. Click my mouse again. Be very clear about what it is you need to do. Now watch this. I'm going to click one time. And did you notice that the third bulleted item arrived, and immediately after that, the fox did his emphasis spin. I could make that also a mouse click so that they're not happening so closely together. Now I'll click again for my 4th bulleted line, click again for my 5th bulleted line. During this time as a presenter, I'm taking as much time as I need to talk about each of these things with the new employees. Now I'm done talking about this particular slide. I'll click my mouse. There's the exit of my fox. And if I click my mouse again, I'll go on to the next slide. So animation is really fun. You can overdo it. So be judicial about what you pick. Don't do too much. For instance, I don't know if in real life I would have done all the things that I did on slide number 2. You might pick 1 or 2 things per slide in your presentation that you could animate. But for the purposes of learning, have at it. Have a lot of fun. Go in and just like throw animation on everything just to see what it does and how you can control it. And then have a great time.